Welcome to the show, a football show, Thursday edition, heading into week number 11 in the SEC, week number 10 in the NFL. His name is Zach Lyons. You can follow him on Twitter at FWordsPod. My name is Braden Gall. You can get to me at Braden Gall. We got a lot of stuff to discuss today, all of it being football related. Zach, how are you, sir? Good to see you,
Doing
my
great.
friend.
Got my Lizzo shirt on, so I know I wanted to make sure I get the full ass in the shot. There we go. Right there.
Always important to get the full ass in the shot.
Yeah. Now it's just like butt crack right now. I mean,
it's just the coin slot.
Yeah.
He said, which is fine. We see plenty of that in the state of Tennessee. If you want to get into the comments and you want to talk about the Titans, the Broncos, Bama, Tennessee, Georgia, playoff rankings, whatever it is that you want to talk about, jump into the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. We know you guys are there. You've been very active lately. We love you for it. So make sure you jump in there, ask any questions, of course, comments, commentary about Zach's wardrobe, commentary about my jowls, my whatever. You can comment about whatever you want. It's all good. Glad to have you guys with us. And of course, glad to have our amazing and wonderful sponsors we'll tell you about in just a second. We've got Denver and we've got the Titans at Nissan Stadium.
They're the same thing.
Will it be more exciting to watch than the Colts-Titans game at Nissan Stadium a couple of weeks ago? That is up for debate. Which team can get to 20 points? Will Ryan Tannehill play? How will Jeffrey Simmons look walking around in a boot on Thursday? So we'll talk all things Titans and Broncos, get you ready for that game coming up over the weekend. We got playoff rankings to discuss. The Volunteers fall to 5 for some reason. We'll explain why you shouldn't panic, of course. And Alabama, could they be delivered a death blow by Alabama standards, of course, this weekend against the Old Mississippi Rebels? Lots of stuff to discuss on the show. We're going to have a lot of fun. Quickly here, let's make sure we tell everybody about our wonderful and amazing sponsors, the Pharmacy, Kingston Group, Weiss Liquors, the Pharmacy, of course, right over there on McFerrin Avenue in East Nashville. Zach, the food. It's all about the quality of food. And when you support local businesses, you expect high-quality products. And the Pharmacy delivers every single time, no matter what you order.
Every single time. I mean, there is not a time that I've ever been to Pharmacy and had a bad meal. And when I used to live downtown, I used to get the Pharmacy delivered via Postmates and Uber Eats and whatever, DoorDash, all that shit back in the day, because this is like 5 or 6 years ago when all that started. And every single one of them, it doesn't matter who delivered it, when I asked for it, it was always on point. Especially the gravy. The gravy is the key. Like the gravy and the country ham on any kind of burger sold.
It sounds like removing years off the end of your life with country ham.
I don't plan to live long
burger.
anyway. I mean, it's been medium rare to rare steaks for the majority of my life since I've been able to eat steak.
There's no other way to eat steak.
Right. But there's a copious amount of red meat that I've eaten and a lot of salt. Like I am a salt fiend. I don't plan on living. Who gives a shit?
What's the
point? What's the point in living a long time if you don't get to have any fucking fun?
I mean, that is the argument that cigarette smokers would bring to the table, and alcoholics and a variety of other people. Now, here's my question: what number are you happy with? Like the Titans would be happy with 20 points on Saturday. So 20. Where would is your number like 60? Are you good if you get to 60 years old? Are you good? Do you expect 70? Like what do you think?
Let's see, I'm 37 now. Let's double it. Let's double my life. So that put me at 74.
Well, and that's exactly like 72, I believe, is like the average life expectancy for the adult male in America.
If I make it that far, I make it that far. If I don't, I don't.
Okay.
Get shit.
You can sleep.
I ain't gonna be around to care if my family cares or not, so it doesn't really matter. I'm dead.
Right. Hey, look, you can sleep when you're dead. Okay, that's the whole deal.
No kids, no grandkids. All I got's French bulldogs. I'm good. Like I have no attachment to this mortal plane other than food, beer, and liquor.
And you will absolutely outlive all the dogs anyway. Like it'll be like generation 3 and 4 on all the dogs. D good. Get busy living or get busy dying. Stoney, we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. And Trey, long enough to see my grandkids graduate. Are you having kids at 22, Trey? Like
my thing is that what if they're dumb grandkids and they are they're held back a few years? That really just that means you have to live even longer past what you wanted to.
That's still not the point.
That's exactly the point.
I have a 6-year-old. I'm 40. Like, do the math. Like, we got started later. Everyone's getting started later these days because they're smarter. So they get married later, which means they don't get divorced, which means they have jobs and shit when they actually sit down to have kids. Like, I don't know, like if I'm 40 and my daughter 18, 25, like you start doing math on a grandkid graduating from high school or college. I don't know if I'm going to get there.
I mean, why when you're like
know.
78, 80, do you want to sit in a fucking gym and watch them graduate?
Well, that
sounds horrible.
I would argue watching.
You're having to get wheeled into a hot, crowded stadium or a gymnasium and watch some fucking kid that you probably don't even remember their name by now on a consistent basis go graduate. I mean,
wow. Okay, so physically at 75, you expect to be in a. We'll talk about football today on the show and Kingston Group and Weiss Liquors, by the way. Yeah. But you expect to be in a wheelchair and have dementia at 75? That's how old Nick Saban is.
I'll probably have dementia or Alzheimer's.
But like my grandmother is 88. She was 88. She's now 94. She was walking around like totally fine at 88. I don't know why at 75 you need to be in a wheelchair already.
It's because I'm not taking care of my body. Who gives a shit? At least I'm not having to do anything myself. I get someone else to do it for me.
I was going to ask, so I've got one more non-sports question before we get to Kingston Group and Weiss Liquors. Of course, Uber Eats. If you want to take a few years off your life, go to Weiss Liquors and just drink all weekend. No. If you need a cocktail, and listen, they do say this, right? Like relieve stress. One cocktail a day, one glass of wine a night, relieves stress, enhances some other things in your life. Go have a glass of wine a night. It's okay. And you can shop at Weiss Liquors for that. So Uber Eats, search Weiss Liquors, have the booze delivered right to your house in as quickly as 20 minutes, Zach.
They drive so you could drink.
Nailed it. Kingston Group, of course, buildkg.com is the website. Nashville's locally owned custom home and remodeling firm. You guys have heard the deal. You know the drill on all these companies. They are great locally owned companies supporting and providing great services to you Nashvillians out there. So make sure you support local business. If you're going to do something with your house, don't call a general contractor that could walk away from the job in the middle of it. Don't do that. Call the professionals that are going to take care of you from start to finish. Kingston Group, they will hold your hand through the whole process. And if you don't use them, they'll make sure you make the right decision for your house. So just talk to the Kingston Group. One final question, since you're wearing a concert shirt. Mm-hmm. Do you like wearing a concert shirt to the concert? Because didn't you buy that at the Lizzo show?
I bought it at the Lizzo show.
Okay, that's different. Wearing a concert shirt to the concert to the band that you're watching. Is that a no-go? Is that faux pas?
I think it depends on, like, if it's a shirt for an older tour, I think that's silly. But if it's if this shirt, timeless. Like, I can wear this to every Lizzo concert because it is a hilarious shirt to wear.
Every Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah. Why not? If you don't think I won't wear this to a Thanksgiving dinner, you're sadly mistaken.
No, I think you would. That's why I brought it up.
Hey, listen, you only have one life. I'm going to wear whatever the fuck I want to wear to all this shit.
I'm with Trey on this one. Always buy the shirt and wear it after. I will not wear if I'm going to a Jack White show, or if I'm going to an Isbell show, like I am not buying. I may buy the hat show print for like my daughter, but I'm keeping that in the two. Like I will not wear a shirt to the concert that I'm watching.
Very rarely do I buy shirts at a concert or have shirt. I have this and an Alanis Morissette shirt. I think those are the only concert shirts that I own right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Or just like
it was a Jagged Little Pill. I had to buy it because that was like the first album that I remember having was the Jagged Little Pill album. It was the first concert I went to. So when she came down last year through Nashville, I went and I had to buy it. But I rarely do buy those shirts and wear them to concerts or anything. It has to be a very funny shirt for me to do it. But I mean, I wouldn't care.
That one's good. That one's good right there. I have a lot of band shirts that are not concert shirts. They're like, it's a shirt of the band, but it's like more. It's not about like, hey, at the Ryman and or whatever.
I used to, but I ate too much red meat, drank too much beer, so those are all gone.
We are 10 minutes into the show and have not talked football one time. Trey says, good conversation starter, and now we know Zach is a classy MFer as a Lizzo fan. Bravo. All right, you want to get to? I could talk Alanis Morissette and my daughters if you want, or we could talk Titans. What do you want to do?
We better probably talk Titans.
Okay. Weiss Liquors, Kingston Group Pharmacy, support local business. Tennessee Titans. Will Ryan Tannehill play?
Maybe. Like, I think I'm more optimistic after hearing him at the press conference than I was on maybe Sunday or Monday. Now, everybody's dissecting the video and everything. Oh, he doesn't look that great. He doesn't look that good and all this stuff. Yesterday was a really light practice, and Vrabel said today's going to be super, super light. So they're not running through anything like the quarterbacks aren't running through anything like really hardcore. So to me, it's like, I think he plays because I think the Broncos are a much tougher defense. I don't know, unless you're really okay with going 0-2, which it doesn't sound like the Mike Vrabel is, because if you saw his press conference after the Chiefs lost, he was pretty devastated. Yeah. And they go in to win these games. They go in expecting to win every game. And I think that if you're being realistic and true to yourself in that sense, Ryan Tannehill's got to be the guy to play because Denver's defense is just too damn good.
I have one more shirt jersey thought that we can get to in a second because I'll compare it to Russell Wilson fans. Because don't you think there's going to be a Russell Wilson Seattle jersey in the crowd?
Oh yeah, no doubt. And
like,
listen, nothing will surprise me. I've been to games that the Packers aren't playing, and I saw a Brian Brom Green Bay Packers jersey. So yeah. That would be totally believable and acceptable.
Brian Brom? Who the fuck bought a Brian Brom jersey?
I don't know. Some fucking loser Packers fan.
Diehard Louisville fan, I guess. No, I was in the press box for the Colts game. There's just a Jerome Bettis jersey just walking around down there. It's Colts Titans. Like, what are we doing? And it's sort of like wearing a Black Keys t-shirt to like a Jack White concert. Like it just that doesn't feel right either.
Right, exactly.
So I assume there'll be some Russell Wilson jerseys in the crowd that are all Seattle, and at least that one has a tie. Anyway, right back to Ryan Tannehill here on a football show. So Jim Wyatt, and I wish I could remember where he said this. I apologize if I should have remembered this. I apologize, but I heard him talking at some point this week, and he said. He kind of let it slip. He was like, I don't think he's going to play this week, or I can't remember exactly how he said it, but it was basically like he basically alluded to the fact that he wasn't going to play this week. And this was like on Tuesday, and it was early in the week, so things could have changed. It could have evolved since then. But we know Jim has information that he's not allowed to bring to the table. We know that about Jim. And I think there was a little tiny slip up by old J-Dub, and he said, basically, it seems like he's not going to go this weekend, and my assumption is that Malik Willis is going to play again for the Tennessee Titans.
Well, I'm not entirely sure. I think that Tannehill wants to play, and I think that's been the big discussion around the local media. Does he even want to play, or is he the guy that's choosing not to play? And Steve McNair would play, which I do agree.
Well,
Steve McNair would play.
That's a shit post, but
Steve McNair would play, by the way.
Yes, but who is actually who is legitimately saying that Ryan Tannehill doesn't want to play football?
Well, it's not that like he doesn't want to play football. It's that he's the one who went to Mike Vrabel and said, I'm not going to play today, is what was said. And that was by Jared.
Because he's not tough enough? Or because he thinks he's going to get hurt? Or because he's actually injured?
I mean, if you're looking for actual reasoning, I think you're looking for the wrong radio host to back that up.
All right, fair enough. I just can't believe anyone in their right mind. Like, you can criticize Ryan.
Just look at who's saying it. Right mind. I mean, it's all for the ratings and interaction.
You can say a lot of negative things about Ryan Tannehill. You could say that he's not good enough to win in the playoffs. You could say that he doesn't read defenses all that great pre-snap. You could say that, whatever. There's a million things you could do to be critical of Ryan Tannehill and his performance as the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. Toughness, desire, leadership, care about his teammates. None of those things are things I would ever say about Ryan Tannehill. Like, if anything, this year he's proven in the face of everything else that happened last year that he's more committed to the team. So I don't know. That one seems awfully dumb. I think that the high ankle sprain issue was way worse than anybody imagined. That it was just so bad. Like, he could not move on the field on Sunday night. And what makes sense, and again, this will go out of date as soon as we get an announcement on Friday or Saturday or whatever, but there's two games in 4 days, basically 5 days, coming up. You got the Thursday game, which, by the way, I'll be at, and you got the Sunday game, and it makes a whole lot of sense to bring him back after that.
And that's what we said on Football and Other F Words on Wednesday's episode, is that we kind of both feel that they can wait and let Malik Willis play these next 2 games. And if he goes 2-2 as a starter, he goes 2-2 as a starter, which is a good chance. But the guy that gives you the best chance to win this particular game is obviously Ryan Tannehill. And really the most important piece is probably Treylon Burks and Jeffrey Simmons and those guys getting out there and playing as well. You know, the reason I leave the door open for Tannehill to play is because he's super tough, is because he's super competitive, and the nature of the player that he is.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately, all of these decisions lie at the feet of Mike Vrabel. It's Mike Vrabel's team. It's Mike Vrabel's choice if these players can play or not. And we'll see as the injury reports practice. I think that if Ryan Tannehill is limited, then there may be a good chance that he plays better than limited, did not practice, obviously not playing.
The more important questions are, can they win with Malik Willis, and how much is Ryan Tannehill limited? Should he play? And here's my question for you about Malik Willis. Do you expect to see, let's say he starts and let's say Tannehill's out. He starts his 3rd straight game. We saw progress and growth from game 1 in Houston to game 2 in Kansas City. Tougher team, tougher environment, better defense. Everything was tougher, and he was better. Not as much in the second half, but we all know that's Todd Downing's fault. So is it reasonable to expect the same sort of jump in week 3, or do we think the first half against Kansas City is sort of like his bar of like really good ability as a rookie?
I think you would see some kind of jump, but the problem that I feel when I look at Malik Willis and look at his progression, I'm really trying to take out the defense and what they do. I'm trying to look at Malik Willis himself, because the way I look at it is Malik Willis's problem is not the opposing defense technically that he's going against. It's making the quick decisions. It's making the right reads. It's getting in and out of the huddle efficiently and stuff like that. We know that he can make plays with his legs. We know that he has a fucking cannon for an arm and he can make ridiculous throws, sidearm throws, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not looking for frequency of plays that he does that with. I'm looking for the stuff in between from and all that. And so Denver is probably going to be a really tough matchup for him, and it'll probably be a really pitiful looking stat line. But again, to me, it's not about the stats necessarily. Yeah. If you're looking at strictly Malik's progress in a vacuum. Now, if you're looking for points, if you're looking for a win, that's totally different. But I'm looking at Malik when he's making these starts as raw progress. What is the progress that he makes week to week? Does he lessen his shots where he misses like an open wide receiver or open tight end? Is he getting out and recognizing that, okay, this play's breaking down, I got to run, or I got to throw this ball away? You know, stuff like that is what you got to look for when you're grading Malik Willis specifically. Because listen, we can talk about it right now. It's like looking in a mirror. 2 offenses and 2 elite defenses. So if you're expecting Malik Willis to look fantastic in the box score, you're looking at the wrong thing.
Well, and I don't even expect necessarily that too. I think you've explained it perfectly, which is you're looking for Malik to control Malik. Like, control what I can control and operate within the confines consistently from play to play, because the spectacular play is going to happen from time to time where he just does something athletically that very few humans can do. And then he's probably going to have the big screw up where he takes a long sack or throws into triple coverage or misreads something, because that's normal and to be expected. The question is, I think you've done a good job here, is just Malik competing against Malik on a play-in, play-out basis. How does that feel? What does that look like? Is that enough to win the game? I don't know if either of them. I think they can win the game with Tannehill or Malik, frankly. Like the Broncos, as we're talking about here, they are identical technically. I think you could argue the defensive line for the Titans is better. We don't know exactly how healthy Jeffrey Simmons is. That's a huge question here, obviously. But without Bradley Chubb, who's now down at Miami, I think the Titans are, running game a little bit better. Titans defense a little bit better. Like, I think the Titans are just a little bit better than the Broncos, even though they are sort of mirror images of each other right now.
Well, I mean, the Titans score more points than the Denver Broncos, which is
Do they?
Yeah. They're 24th, and I think the Broncos are 30th or 31st. They're not dead last, but they're close. So they're right at the bottom in points for. But they're second in points against. This is a better defense because in my mind, while the Bradley Chubb is gone, Bradley Chubb to me has been kind of an up and down kind of player. And I look at it from this point is that their defensive backs, I mean, that you're not going to be able to judge Malik because, I mean, these defensive backs are going to swallow up these wide receivers whole. It's not even a question of if, it's just a question of when.
So I find that matchup to be super, super interesting. And it's sort of like when you have such a bad weakness on your team that you're allowed to sort of give up and focus on something else. And like, if they don't cover them, then sure, we'll throw it to the wide open guy who can make a play. But if they're going to cover them, I'd probably single coverage, right? To use as few of people as possible to cover the receivers. Ideally, you could just like give up on that if you're the Titans and just say, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to really worry about Austin Hooper and Chig Okonkwo. We're really going to worry about Dalton Hilliard. We're really going to worry about getting these other pieces involved in more complicated ways because we already know that NWI can't beat somebody one-on-one. We already know, I don't know what's wrong with Robert Woods. I think the offense doesn't help him, but I think Robert Woods should be able to make some sort of play at some point.
Someone asked me what I thought about why Robert Woods is struggling, and I said, well, I think it's a little bit of recovering from the injury. I mean, we're just now 9 weeks in, which is typically when you start seeing players get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. 9 games in, I guess I should say. The other thing is that I think the scheme does nobody any favors, but also Malik can't go into the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And or at least they don't think that he can go in the middle of the field is a high chance of success. And so when you take that away, Robert Woods, who does a lot of work in the slot, in the middle, and going out in these short yardage situations, there's no opportunity for him to do that. And so that's why you kind of saw, I think, them take a step back as far as Robert Woods, because he was being involved when Ryan Tannehill was in, because Ryan Tannehill can make all the throws all the way across the field. Robert Woods and the scheme is not working out for them. And the scheme is being simplified for Malik Willis so he can succeed. It's not an indictment of Malik Willis. It's the fact that, hey, we have to put you in the best chance to succeed. And we know in these quick turnarounds with limited practice that you can go deep and on the outside. We know that your strength does not lie in the middle. So we're going to try our best to do screen passes, to do RPOs, and to go down the sidelines because that's your bread and butter.
Yeah, I think you can get creative with these guys. I think it's going to feel a lot like, and I guess we can. I don't know if you want me to start here because Russell Wilson. I actually think that we're going to walk out of this game. Should Malik Willis start? With a lot of people looking at Russell Wilson and Malik Willis and doing the comparison because short, very athletic. I think both pretty stocky. I think Willis is actually built bigger and stronger than Russell Wilson is, but I think they're very similar in how they run around and how they try to make plays and how they throw the football. And so the question is, can either one of them do something outside of the confines of the offense that actually creates an X play that changes field position, that, is that big spark or whatever. Otherwise, it feels like it's going to be a lot like the Colts game from a couple weeks ago at Nissan Stadium, where it's like you're going to play shell coverage, force them to beat you underneath on both sides, play good containment on both quarterbacks, Tannehill or otherwise. If it's Tannehill, you don't even need to worry about him running around. I feel like it's going to be very conservative on both sides of the ball for both teams.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a boring-ass football game. And it's like, and we talk about right here, is either team even to score 20-plus points? Because I would venture to say that it's like a 13-10 kind of game. Like, I think this is going to be ugly. Russell Wilson is burnt toast. KJ Hamler has a hamstring injury today, so his status and he's the deep guy. He is the deep guy for that team. His status is uncertain for Sunday now with a pulled hamstring. They have no running game that you have to be scared of. It's a turnover-prone Melvin Gordon and Chase Edmonds. Like, give me a break with those two. Like, you got to really worry about that. And then Russell Wilson is just terrible. So you really only have to worry about Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and Greg Dulcich. And that's it. And listen, Greg's a really good tight end, and he's catching on and probably had, now they're coming off the bye, a little bit extra time to get more chemistry.
Yeah.
But that's the only three guys you got to do. And they're not really right now, because their quarterback is holding them back, because this offense is just not good and the scheme is not good and their head coach stinks, that you don't really have to worry about. That's why it's probably going to be a 13-10. Listen, I'm not predicting who's going to win. It's going to be fucking ugly.
And Fulton eliminates one of those two receivers.
Well, that's the thing, is that if you look at the stats right now, Jerry Jeudy is succeeding in man-on-man coverage. So they're going to have to use some zone coverage. Yards per route run for Jerry Jeudy in man is by far the highest in the league. He runs 6 yards per route against man coverage, and he has a 71.8% catch rate in man coverage. That's where he's making his bread and butter this particular season. So he's been terrible at man coverage the past 2 seasons. So it'll be interesting to see what the Titans do scheme-wise to take out both Cortland Sutton. It's definitely going to be keep everything in front of you. That's just how they play, and they're going to hope that this horrible, horrible, horrible offensive line, which is just as horrible, horrible, horrible as the Titans' offensive line, gets the pass rush gets there.
Did these guys? I want to say, and I'm kind of checking it right now just to be double sure, to be double check here. I want to say they played against each other in college, because Jeudy was drafted in 2000, and so was Fulton. So yeah, they would have played their entire college careers against each other in a lot of big games for both LSU and Alabama. So they should have a lot of familiarity with each other. Jerry Jeudy is what I love about Jerry Jeudy, like, he is a craftsman of the position. Like, he may not be as explosive as we think. I certainly think the offense has held him back, but he knows how to run. Like, he's a very good route runner. He's a craftsman of the position, and that concerns me a little bit. But again, like with David Long, his ability to drop into coverage with the tight end, with the safeties that they've got now, a variety of bodies. Josh Kalu's making plays on Sunday night. Like, they've got more guys in that secondary.
Well,
regardless of what Hooker does.
If Molden comes back, that's a good thing. That's another chess piece to have in the rotation. The big key is going to be Jeffrey Simmons, which I think that Jeffrey Simmons is going to play. Personally, I think you would have to tranquilize him and put him to sleep, maybe drug him for him not to be out there and play. Everybody's very concerned. We're on boot watch with Jeffrey Simmons, but we've seen
a lot of boot picks on Thursday.
We've seen Jeffrey Simmons not practice all week, then go out and have one of the best games of his life. So
now he re-aggravated the injury, though, right?
Yeah, he played 72 freaking snaps. And that's not including the snaps that he was on the field for that had penalties involved. He played 72 snaps. So let's, I guess I'm at this point of the injury report, the people freaking out, the people taking pictures of feet and all that kind of stuff. I'm just kind of over it. And maybe last year starting 91 different players just has desensitized me. But specifically this year, they'll let you know. Why even try to speculate?
You mean like by Sunday we'll just all know?
Yeah, we'll just all know. Like, what? Yeah. What good is it everybody worrying about it and speculating about? Because you're not fucking playing. They're not gonna. If Jeffrey Simmons doesn't go, they're not calling Bob 25723 on Twitter to take a spot, so you don't have to worry about canceling your plans that day. Like, why even fucking worry about it? Listen, if Jeffrey Simmons plays, this defense is going to be awesome, and they're going to disrupt they're going to disrupt the offensive line for the Broncos. If he doesn't play, they're going to find ways to disrupt the offensive line of the Broncos. It may just not be great and awesome. It may just be good.
So Zach Cunningham, Bud Dupree, Amani Hooker, Jeffrey Simmons, T.R. Tart, none of them practice. So let me ask you varying degrees of injury here. I am confident that with the coaching advantage, Being at home, if you want to call it that, I feel like this is a Mike Vrabel type of game. Like this is a Tennessee Titans backyard brawl that they're going to figure out a way to win a low-scoring, physical football game where the defense is going to make a big play. So I'm leaning towards the Titans victory. Let's just say hypothetically, I know you said you're not going to make a pick, but let's say hypothetically you're on that side of the bandwagon. Of those defensive players, how many have to be out before you start to change your mind and go the other way and say, I think that now Denver has the advantage? Does that make sense? Like if it's all of them, are you still confident that the Titans defense makes plays? Vrabel has the right scheme.
They'll make plays. They just won't make plays at a higher rate. I mean, we just came off a game where Mario Edwards and Denico Autry both got 8 pressures apiece. I mean, like, give me.
Good point.
I mean, it's going to be like a soul crushing defeat of the Broncos if Simmons and Dupree are both healthy and they both play. Like they're gonna snatch the souls of the Denver Broncos.
I agree with that.
If Simmons is out and Bud Dupree plays, feel pretty good.
Okay, I agree.
Bud Dupree doesn't play, but Simmons plays, feel pretty great.
Okay.
If they're both out, I think that it's gonna be like a low scoring game because the team is still gonna make plays. It's just going to be a lot of pressure on Malik Willis to score points, and that's where you falter. See, that's where the defense and the offense work in synergy and tandem is that it lessens the burden off Malik Willis.
What happens if Cunningham, Hooker, and Molden all don't play?
Oh, those 3 guys, I don't even care.
Don't even care. Okay.
Well, they don't
right.
need Zach Cunningham. And,
no.
And Amani Hooker didn't play last week, and Molden didn't play last week, and
I don't want to say. I just say the compounding effect of having like 7 of your starters out at some point.
I mean, it's Bud Dupree and
the
Jeffrey Simmons. That's the level of how high your defense could take you depends on those 2 players.
I tend to agree.
Not those other 3 players currently in its current form.
Okay, that's fine, especially against this team.
Yes,
where Hooker and Molden, like it's just like the Titans. Like there's no real way to take advantage of those absences unless Judy and Sutton go nuts, I guess. So listen, I like the Titans, but I think it's going to be a very ugly, very tough to watch, very difficult football game, as is the case because, again, 18.6 points per game for the Tennessee Titans, 15.1 points per game for the Denver Broncos. This is 2022 in the professional ranks of an athletic competition in which like a third of the league cannot score 18 points. What are we watching in the NFL right now?
We are watching a case study in people not being able to recognize that Russell Wilson, that quarterbacks are on the decline. Because I said it. I've said it all summer when people were like, oh, the Titans trade Tannehill for Russell Wilson. He stinks. And then on top of that, everybody has been talking about, oh, well, John Robinson didn't even call to try to trade Jerry Jeudy. Well, let me tell you something. Go listen to Music City Audible, and you're going to hear otherwise. And you're also going to hear that the Broncos, no offer from several NFL teams came even close to what they were wanting for Jerry Jeudy. And you know what? Jerry Jeudy stinks.
Oh, come on now. I like Jerry Jeudy.
I mean, you know, I do. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he hasn't lived up at all to the potential that he has. And it's because he just can't stay healthy.
Well, that's true. I think the system hasn't helped him. Trey says same with Rodgers. I got a question. Are you saying, is Trey saying that the Titans didn't go after Aaron Rodgers at all?
Oh,
because
I don't know.
Because I know I'm asking, but I want him to come back because I've got some information here. I might drop a little nugget here. Wilson, I agree with you. I don't. And first of all, I will give you credit. You said he was washed all off season long. Like you've said that all along. But to see the Rams in the bottom 10 in scoring offense, the Packers in bottom 10 in scoring offense, the Bucks with Brady bottom 10 in scoring offense. I mean, it is bad football right now. A lot of it is injuries to quarterbacks, but also like the Titans are dealing with
bad offensive lines. And quarterbacks are hitting their wall.
So, okay, so Trey says no, that people begged for him to come. If he was a Titan, it's a Super Bowl. I think if the Titans had A.J. Brown, maybe, or Treylon Burks fully healthy with Rodgers, I think maybe they are pretty good. Here's the thing, though. I know for a fact, or at least somebody told me, that there was a contract offer on the table with Aaron Rodgers from the Tennessee.
That's what
Titans.
was reported by Pro Football Talk.
Yeah, it's that one. I had somebody else tell me like, oh yeah, there was a deal there. So I don't think anything ever happened with Wilson. I've not heard anything like that. But
no,
Rodgers,
it's just what fans wanted. That's all I'm talking about.
Okay. All right. So I'll take the Titans, and you're not going to make a pick. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Are you going under 36.5?
I'm thinking about it. If I'm going to make a bet, because I've kind of shied away from making bets on money lines and all this stuff in the NFL this year because it's a crapshoot for the most part. And so I've gone towards doing player props. So I'm kind of like avoiding. I avoid that all this stuff. But if I were to make a pick, I would probably go Titans minus 2.5.
Stoney says, can I bet on the only touchdown in this game being a defensive or special teams touchdown? There's your player prop right there.
Let me tell you something. In the Green Bay game, I am betting a defensive special teams anytime touchdown.
I would bet that in this one as well.
Yeah, I may be doing that. I may just talk myself into it.
It's a good call there. All right. Before we move on to some college football, of course, the Pharmacy, Kingston Group, Weiss Liquors. So the Pharmacy, every Monday, we're out there hanging out with you guys. The weather was still gorgeous on Monday, but it's a great place to go for lunch. The food is exceptional. The beer is like, well, hey, let's get like a really awesome local brewery to do like a cool beer just for us, like a Bearded Iris Pharmacy Pils, for example. And it's an amazing compliment to what you already get on the menu when you go to the Pharmacy. You get great food, you get a great atmosphere, good vibes. It's not like a loud, obnoxious sports bar. Like you're not going to go and get like a bunch of there's not a bunch of TVs, so you're not there to watch games. You're there to go for lunch, spend time with people you care about, bring your family. You can get out of there with family of 4 for less than $50. I brought some bratwurst home the other day and like repurposed it for dinner for the girls. They loved it. So you can take some stuff home with you there as well. So the quality of the food never disappoints, ever. So check out the Pharmacy. Kingston Group, buildkg.com is the website. Nashville's locally owned custom home and remodeling firm. It's a firm, Zach. Like your shirt. Like the woman on your shirt. It's a firm. It's what it is. Firm. It's a way of life.
It is.
They will help you out, man. Like I don't really need to get into like fancy language here and tell you all kinds of crazy stuff. Like they will help you make the best possible decision. And even if that doesn't include using them, they will tell you what you should do. They will help you with that decision. And if you're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a big home decision, hundreds of thousands of dollars, use somebody you trust. Kingston Group, locally owned and operated. And of course, Weiss Liquors. Make sure you check out Weiss Liquors right there. Locally owned and operated since 1932. Right there on West End. Check out Andrew. He'll help you out with wine and bourbon selection. He's a great manager. He'll help you out, make good decisions. I don't, know anything about wine. I don't know how to pick out good wine. I don't really care about wine, but my wife does, so I need some help with that. Andrew's my guy. Go into Weiss Liquors, talk to Andrew. He'll take care of you. And then Weiss Uber Eats, search Weiss Liquors, have the booze delivered to your house in as quickly as 30 minutes. The Tennessee Volunteers are number 5 in the playoff rankings. Who should they be most concerned about, Zach?
Themselves. That's what I think. Take care of your own business. At this point, other games are going to happen. Other teams are going to lose more than likely. You have to worry about yourself and take care of business in these next 3 weeks, because at any point in college football, no matter how much you are favored by, no matter how much money is on your team, the public money to win, upsets happen at a higher rate in college football than anything other than college basketball. I mean, high rate of upsets. I mean, you just saw Liberty beat Arkansas, right?
13-point underdog on the road.
You cannot sleep on Missouri. And I know UT fans don't want to hear this. You can't sleep on Vanderbilt, and you can't sleep on South Carolina, because Vanderbilt has a really good quarterback, in my opinion. So, I mean, I know you did that, but there's been times where Vanderbilt has upset a better UT team, like better than them, not a better than this one. But
I'm not buying what you're selling on the Vandy game.
That's fine. I mean, how many times have y'all been upset by Vandy in the past 10 years?
So not this Tennessee. So AJ Swan now out for most of. Mike Wright's going to start for Vanderbilt this week. I agree with you about Missouri and South Carolina. Missouri is a top 3 defense in the SEC. Nobody knows like they've made. I don't think people know how much better they are on defense. I do like Tennessee minus the 20, but I think to your point, it is being focused on your own jobs. You beat Missouri at home in your final home game for a lot of seniors. You beat the tar out of South Carolina on the road is going to be tricky. That's just the way it is. Even if you win big, it's going to be a test that you have to show up for. I do think Vanderbilt is going to be a vast majority Orange fans, and I think Vanderbilt's going to be that. I mean, I know Vandy fans will be pissed off for that one, but I don't think they've got any personnel that. I mean, I think that could be a 30-point spread, honestly. So that one I'm not worried about. It's the road trip to South Carolina that is the concerning one. But to the point about the playoff, everyone's worried about TCU. I wouldn't be. Everyone's worried about maybe a second-place Big Ten team, Michigan or Ohio State, whoever loses that game, and I think that's important. I don't think you need to worry about Clemson. I don't think you need to worry about LSU. You have the trump card on LSU. You beat the piss out of them in Baton Rouge. Like, I'm sorry, it is what it is. I don't think LSU can jump Tennessee. The key here that I don't think people are talking about is the Pac-12 champion. That's the one that no one's talking about. That I think while TCU and Tennessee fans are arguing about 4 and 5, and Clemson's like, what about us? And Michigan's like, oh, we could get in if we lose close on the road to Ohio State. The one they have to look out for is the Pac-12. That's the one that could take a spot from everybody, because Oregon, if they win out, they're going to have a bunch of really good wins on their resume. They play a bunch of tough teams from here on out. USC plays a bunch of tough teams from here on out. They got a lot of meat on their bone left to go, if that's an analogy I can use. There's some meat left on the bone there. I know you've been smoking meats for like the last couple of months, so I think there's a lot left on that for Oregon, and I think everyone's focus is on the East Coast, and no one's looking at what's happening out west, where Oregon and USC could sneak into that 3 spot. Then it's like Michigan, Tennessee, and TCU and Clemson fighting for the last spot.
What do you think of Oregon's, or the guy, I think his name is Boo something?
Yes.
He, in his comments about the Georgia game for Oregon and for UT, that the committee looks at, well, you both got dominated. Who cares about the points? You both just got dominated.
I think basically I'm okay with the committee saying Georgia beat both of you handily, easily. There's not a lot of discrepancy between the two. But if you are going to rank them, and if you have those two teams that you're looking at trying to get into the playoff, it's probably going to be more based on the rest of your body of work. But Tennessee's loss was a little bit better. Like, it wasn't as bad. It was in a true road environment. Like they I think defensively they put up a much bigger fight. Offensively, I thought it was a much tougher challenge for Georgia. So I think the eye test tells you Tennessee was better against Georgia than Oregon was. My question about that is, how much does the committee take into account, or even should they, that it was a first game, and this goes for Brian Kelly and LSU against Florida State as well.
Right.
Like, brand new coach in a first game, isn't that a lot different than 10 games later? Like, aren't you a different team 10 games later?
Because you said that if Oregon and Georgia met again, that you think it would be a whole lot closer than what it was originally.
I think it would. I think it would be closer to what we saw with Tennessee, where it's like, the thing about Oregon is they have
quarterback, new head coach, right? I mean,
same thing with LSU.
Yeah. So
LSU transfer quarterback, head coach in his first game, and they lose in week 1 against Florida State. Does the committee take into account like how much a team changes when a coach is in his first season, right? Like, I don't know if that's too deep in the weeds for the committee or not, but I mean, 49-3 is pretty bad. Like, nobody has gotten into the playoff with a loss that bad.
I would love to be able to see Oregon versus Tennessee.
Oh, that'd be great.
I think that would be a great game, but I don't think there's a way that the committee could actually, figure that out, in the playoffs, because you'd have to put one of them at number 2, or they would both have to upset Ohio State and Georgia.
Yeah, they would have to. Well, now if Georgia loses to LSU, here you go. Here you go. I can do it. I think I can do the gymnastics here, like on the spot. Let's see if I can do it. LSU beats Georgia close in the SEC championship game. Okay. Georgia's number 1 at the time. They fall to number 4.
Yeah, I would think you'd put them at number 4.
But they get in. Tennessee
probably number 3.
They probably would be 3 because that's what happened last year. But let's just say hypothetically they fall to 4. Tennessee slides up to number 3. You've got Oregon then sliding up to number 2. You've got the winner of the Ohio State-Michigan game at number 1. That, in theory, that could happen. And I completely agree with you. Oregon, Tennessee, take the over. It would be absolutely brilliant firework football. It would be so
It would be the
much
best
fun.
game of the last 10 years, I feel like. I
It
feel like
would
it'd
be
be
so good.
it'd be that fun to watch that matchup at this point in time.
It would be Oklahoma, Georgia, Rose Bowl when it was Baker Mayfield versus Jake Fromm, and it was Sony Michel, and they went. It was like 52-48 in overtime, and that 2017, I think. That was one of the best playoff games of all time. I agree with you. Oregon, Tennessee, because the defenses are questionable and the offenses are great. God, that would be so much fun. TCU, they got to play Texas. They're a 7-point underdog this week. So don't argue, Tennessee fans, with TCU people. Don't worry about it. Your resume is way better. You're a better team. You should have been ranked ahead of them. It doesn't matter. TCU has 2 really tough games and a potential championship game. They are going to lose at some point. And if they lose, they're going to be back with Clemson.
And the committee always does this a few weeks out from when they actually have to make the decision. They always put the undefeated team against over a one-loss team for like a week or two, and then that team's forgotten about because their wins don't look that impressive as the season goes on. It's just, to me, it's like the college football playoffs ranking system that comes out is fun from a standpoint, but if I'm a fan, I'm waiting for a couple weeks for me to really invest my emotional energy into my team getting in there.
Zach, let me tell you, dude, like I do this every Tuesday night. Like I'm like, all right, the kids are going to bed. We're all getting ready, because they come out at 6 o'clock, and I'm always like, all right, honey, you got the bath time today. I'm going to watch the rankings. I'm not going to get upset about some logos on a screen in the middle of November. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get upset about it.
And then you get upset.
And then I sit there and I'm like, why is Tennessee at 5? Why is UCLA behind Clemson? What are we doing? And I can't help myself. I can't. It's like catnip. I can't. The point is, Tennessee fans, don't worry about it.
Well, let me ask you a question. What they should worry about. What happens if LSU loses to Arkansas? Because not only does LSU drop down, obviously Alabama should drop down as well, but Alabama beat Arkansas, but lost to LSU. But Tennessee beat LSU that lost to Arkansas that lost to Liberty. Like, how does that all play out in the big scheme of things?
So I don't think I think thinking about how they all rank doesn't matter.
Okay.
I think what matters is then if they lose to Arkansas, because Vegas right now is telling you as a 3-point favorite on the road,
it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
And that they are begging you to take LSU, which really means they like Arkansas. Now, if you're betting on this game, wait until the last possible second. So if KJ Jefferson's going to play or not. If KJ Jefferson plays, I would take Arkansas. If KJ Jefferson doesn't play, then I'm on LSU.
Arkansas points or Arkansas money line?
It's only a 3-point spread. Like if KJ Jefferson plays, I would take Arkansas plus the points or money line. However, I think they can win the game. Arkansas beat them last year. They haven't won at home in this game since 2014. So it's been a while. So there's some catharsis coming through the program. But if KJ Jefferson doesn't play, I just don't know. I don't know how they can beat LSU. What's interesting, though, and this packages to our next conversation about Alabama and Ole Miss, which is if LSU does lose, they still have the tiebreaker over Alabama. And they have the tiebreaker over Ole Miss. But if Ole Miss beats Alabama, Ole Miss is in first place and in the driver's seat for the West because they only have the one loss. So this Alabama game with Ole Miss and LSU's got to play A&M. That's a crazy game every year too. Like it's not guaranteed that LSU is going to Atlanta. If Ole Miss somehow figures out a way, Lane Kiffin figures out a way to somehow run the football on Alabama, somehow stop Bryce Young, somehow deliver the kill shot to 2022 Alabama and make it one of the worst teams of Saban's era. If that happens and LSU loses, then we actually are talking about Ole Miss going to Atlanta for the first time in history.
Wow.
In SEC history, they've never played in Atlanta. And I wouldn't if I'm gambling on the Ole Miss game, by the way, I don't know about you. You're the Bama guy. I would not touch the point spread. I would put money on Ole Miss on the money line or nothing else.
I don't want to. I don't like betting on Alabama unless it's like a for sure thing. I just want to go back real quick to the LSU thing because if they lose, does that not affect if you're talking about UT versus UT's resume versus Oregon's resume? If Oregon wins out, UT wins out. Does this not affect that?
I think.
Because that doesn't make it a quality win anymore, right? Or
no, it's still absolutely. I mean, LSU would have to lose every game.
Okay.
If LSU finishes like 8-4 and they lose to both Arkansas and A&M, then I think we could talk about, all right, it's clearly not a top 10 win, but it's still a high quality win. Like it's still a win over a ranked team on the road by 4 touchdowns. So I don't know if that's that's tricky because you don't like it's a 12-game body of work, and if Bama loses,
does the committee judge them at the time that they play, not how the team at the time that they played? LSU was kind of an afterthought at the time, and then LSU went on a tear after the UT game that goes back and loses. Like, what does that? If I'm in the committee, and looked at that, I'd say, well, obviously the outlier was the games in between the UT and the loss to Arkansas.
I think, well, again, only a 3-point favorite. It's a rivalry game. You're on the road. Yeah. I don't, Arkansas is a decent football team. It doesn't look good coming off the Liberty loss, but that Liberty team is, 1 2-point conversion away from being undefeated. And the new Auburn head football coach, Hugh Freeze, is running things there. I think what's interesting.
Did he just get extended by Liberty?
Liberty is so like, I don't want to talk about it. I have so many thoughts about Liberty University. I don't want to go down that path of pool boys and Falwells and Ian McCalls and cell phones. I'm already there. Now I'm in a dark place. Anyway, the committee looks at everything. The committee considers everything. If you lose a quarterback in week 5 for 5 weeks and you lose a game in there, they consider that, right? So I think they consider everything. But if we're talking about 11-1 Tennessee versus 12-1 Oregon, I already think Oregon's in. So I think what matters is, this is what I meant earlier. Like, I think the Pac-12, people are looking at them and just saying like, oh, are they going to get it? Like, no, they're in. Like, if their champion wins out, they're going to get in, unless it's Utah. But if you're talking about TCU, let's say, or Michigan, then the quality of your resume is probably a big factor. I don't think being ranked 11th or being ranked 24th or being ranked 7th, I don't think that's a big difference. Like, I think you went on the road and you completely dominated a pretty good LSU team. I think that's how they should look at it. And I think that's how they're going to look at it. Because, again, they've also beaten Alabama. They destroyed a ranked Kentucky team. Florida's getting better and better, and your win over Florida is going to age better, right? How much do you dominate Missouri? How much do you dominate South Carolina on the road? Like you beat Pittsburgh. That hasn't aged particularly well, but I do think the committee looks at it after it's all done. Like we just had election day, and polling in politics is completely asinine, right? Like who knows if anybody knows what they're doing when it comes to polling. Polling is a snapshot in time. It's just a look at what it is in that moment at that exact second. And the only playoff ranking that matters is after every single game has been played. So, like, we're going to know exactly what LSU is. We're going to know exactly what Pitt is, what Florida is, what Oregon is. We're going to know exactly who all these teams are because they will have played every single game when we actually do the rankings that matter. So, are you rooting for LSU if you're a Tennessee fan? Sure. Okay. That's fine. But you want your resume to look as good as possible. But I don't think Tennessee's not getting into the playoff.
It only really changes if Arkansas wins and then LSU drops another one.
And even then, I would argue I don't think Tennessee's playoff hopes depend on one team winning or losing other game. Like, I don't. Gotcha. I think it's more about like what has Tennessee done over 12 games, how dominant have they been, etc. Ole Miss, however, doesn't have the resume to, like, they have to beat Georgia and win the SEC title as a one-loss team to get in because they haven't beaten anybody the way Tennessee has. They played LSU and got smoked, So Ole Miss has to beat Alabama and then probably beat Georgia to get into the playoff.
Do you think Ole Miss will beat Alabama, though? Like,
no.
We really haven't seen the angry Saban game yet, I feel like. The game that he goes out and he says, I'm going to beat the shit out of this fucking team because I'm so mad at how poor my team has played. We really haven't seen that. Like, the Arkansas game was a little bit like that, but it wasn't really a full-on dominating, suffocating performance. Are we going to get that out of Alabama this week?
That's the question. I mean, they did that against Mississippi State the week after losing to Tennessee.
Yeah.
They didn't give up 30-6. Like, it was a complete drubbing of Mississippi State, which is a decent team. Here's the problem with Alabama. This is the mentally softest team I've seen under Nick Saban. They're undisciplined. They're undisciplined. They take penalties. They're terrible on the road. All these things. The problem is they just match up so well with Ole Miss. Like Ole Miss wants to run the football like crazy. They got a quarterback who's not exactly accurate. Their defense has given up almost 7 yards a play the last 3 games. And not even against great offenses. Against Auburn and A&M, Ole Miss's defense struggled. Like, it's not even like struggling against Georgia and Tennessee. You're struggling against, like, middle-of-the-pack offenses. So Ole Miss's defense isn't particularly good, so Bryce Young's going to eat. If they can run the ball like crazy, then maybe they got a chance. This is why I would bet, if I'm betting on the money line for Ole Miss, and then you're not betting on Ole Miss. You're betting on Alabama being mentally weak and broken. And, like, they can't function after losing 2 games and they're not playing for a championship anymore. Right? Like that's otherwise, if they are still Alabama and they still show up to play a really good game and they're just going to be as good as they were against Tennessee or LSU, they blow them out. I think.
Just real quick, because I know we're pushing up against it. Does Mississippi State have any chance against Georgia in your mind?
In the first half? This is the game. Sorry, this is the game I talked about all summer long. Like, emotional game against Florida, emotional game against Tennessee. Then you got to go to Starkville, a place you haven't played in like 15 years, with loud cowbells and a weird offense. And it screams letdown alert, right? And the point spread at 16 screams letdown alert. I would take Georgia minus the points. Gotcha. I think Mississippi State challenges them in the first half, solid defense, kind of a tricky offense. I think they sit on their necks and suffocate them in the second half and just run the football. I would lay the points and take Georgia here on this one. I think
I was curious about this game. If you thought there was even kind of like an upset alert on this,
did you see that? There was all summer for me, and now that it's here, I'm kind of like, I don't know, dude. Like, some of it's recency, just seeing Georgia's like best performance, you know. But like we said on Monday, we were asking all the wrong questions. How do you stop Tennessee? How do you adjust to Hendon Hooker? How do you No. All the questions should be, how do you adjust to Georgia?
Well, Ryan Tannehill did practice today, so that's 2 back-to-back practices for Ryan Tannehill.
How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good.
If he goes, what is he, 70%?
I would say probably 70%, and I think that's better than 100% Malik Willis. And that's, again, not an indictment of Malik Willis. I think it's just that Ryan Tannehill can make all the throws, which opens up the offense even more.
How effective is at 70% Ryan Tannehill? Is that enough to win the game?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. All right. There you have it. SEC should be a lot of fun this week. A lot of good games. Kentucky Vanderbilt. You got, first of all, by the way, A&M Auburn is just complete dumpster fire. Like, just such a mess. So always watch Auburn and A&M, what they're doing. It's just you'll never be disappointed.
Right.
Obviously, Titans and Broncos got a lot of stuff going on. Make sure you check out the Pharmacy, the Kingston Group, Weiss Liquors, all the great sponsors here on 440 Sports and Broadway Sports Media as well. Where else can people find you and your work, Zach?
Well, just in case you guys are still saying after this show, man, I really need to hear or see some more Zach Lyons, I am immediately jumping off this and jumping on to the Mike Herndon show, where I'm filling in for Easton, who just made the horrible mistake of getting married and tying himself down. Horrible mistake.
In the fall.
Was Saturday or Sunday. I don't know. Either way, it's unacceptable. So I'm filling in for him doing that. I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm just going in there. I think I'm just clicking buttons. I'm not entirely sure what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'll be there, be doing that.
You'll be
maybe I'll just be like, oh shit.
Can you be like one of the guys on the McAfee show that just like goes,
no, I'm going to be Statler and Statler and
I have no idea.
Wardroff, the 2 Muppets in the balcony. That's what
yeah. Those guys are
Statler
great, dude.
That's what I'll be.
Those guys are great. Just
you can follow me on Twitter at @FortsPod. You can turn on all the notifications for 440 Sports, Broadway Sports Media. Make sure that you're watching all the YouTube videos that not only this show provides, but Football and Other Efforts provides, Music City Audible that provides, because they had some really interesting tidbits that I alluded to earlier with their interview with Benjamin Albright.
Also brought to you by the Pharmacy, by the way.
Also brought to you by the Pharmacy. And then you have all the 440 Sports collection of videos and podcasts that. And congratulations to Lamestream Sports for their nomination in the So Bros podcast network.
Oh, we got
awards.
nominated?
You guys got nominated.
All right. I think shout out to V-Love for that. I think V-Love gave us the
it'd be
nomination.
it's us, me and Football to Other F Words. It'd be Lamestream Media, and then it's those other two guys,
Lamestream Sports.
Dustin and Jack of the Tighten Up podcast or something like that. Those guys are in it.
Is it Uncle Dustin? Is that Uncle Dustin?
Yeah, they do the uncle and aunt thing because they rip off whatchamacallit.
Isn't that all? Isn't that all Austin does is rip off everybody's work?
Yeah, he just rips off everybody's work.
Yeah,
that's why when I won the award last year with Mr. Lebowski, he had to go and whine and complain to get his own award, and it had its own wording and all this stuff. So it's like Stoney threw him a bone this year and got him into the actual big time.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. I do enjoy his work, but it's not a better podcast. So we'll just call it like that. And listen,
everybody's worried about these blue check marks, and I'm like, I've been sitting over here for 5 years with all these podcasts popping up, these Tennessee Titans fan podcasts popping up, and they're all just cheap imitations.
Second,
so I'm like, I'm not worried about blue check mark.
Yes, second-rate podcast. There's no question about that. And you know what? If your aunt had balls, she'd be your uncle. So there you have it. All right, I think that just about does it for us today on the show. For Zach, I am Braden. For our great and wonderful sponsors, Weiss Liquors, Kingston Group, Pharmacy. Make sure you check them all out. Support local business, folks. They're great and awesome people. They live here. They operate here. They work here in Nashville for you. So make sure you check them out and support them. We do appreciate all your support. Thanks for hanging out in the comment section. Rate, review, subscribe, share the show. Have a great weekend. For Zach, I'm Braden. This has been a football show.